everybody's trying to avoid. They're trying to avoid sticking their club in the ground. That's what nobody likes to do, right? It's the one that's embarrassing.
Yeah, where the ball goes like a foot.
Yeah, everybody hates it. Everybody's hit that shot who's played golf for any amount of time.
Everybody who you see hit that one, what do they do a little later?
Well, then they blade it. Because what happens is that means your low point's back here behind the ball somewhere, which can cause you to stub it. It can also cause you to catch it on the upswing, which will stick that leading edge right in the middle of the golf ball. So it's a double whammy. You get to have fun all over the spectrum.
Hey everybody, Milo and Blake out here at Superstition Mountain. We're on the short game area today. We wanted to give you a quick video. What's this one on, Blake?
The two most common flaws I see that cause people to have inconsistent contact on these little short shots, let's just call them inside 30 yards, or chips and pitches. Now the question is, why do people do that? Why do people stub it? Why do they stub it behind the golf ball more importantly? Because just digging your blade into the grass isn't necessarily the worst thing in the world, depending on the shot and line conditions and all those different things. But at the end of the day, all it is the low point of your golf club, so where your club is bottoming out, is too far backwards. Now, here's the two things that I see that cause people to do it. The first one is they try and, both of these are shallowing mechanisms, but they're improper shallowing mechanisms. So the first one is I see people try and lift that ball up with their body so the club doesn't get stuck in the ground. What happens is, and I like to tell people, you think of this like I have an Iron Man coming out of my chest, you know, that ray or whatever comes out of his chest. If I get this way, that Iron Man is way back here. So now it's up to my hands to try and play recovery mode just to get to the golf ball and not chunk it or thin it. And at best case, maybe you hit it okay, but you're probably not going to be, your feel's not going to be very well used if you're just trying to get to the golf ball. So the first one is, from down the line, if my body goes up and back, even if my swing plane's good, you can see how quickly I'm going to bottom out behind it. Now, I'm shallow, but I'm going to chunk it.
It's going to be a drop kick.
So then at best you're getting a drop kick. At worst, you're doing something with your hands to try and move the low point forward.
Yeah.
That's probably the most common. The second most common is not doing a very good job of managing the swing plane. So another thing people do is, once again, to not dig, I could just throw this club way in here behind me and underneath, and it is very shallow. The problem is, shallow also equals a big old chunk in that club hitting the ground way back here behind it. I just kind of threw in both of those. That's what I see a lot of people doing. Now, on a perfect lie, sometimes you get away with it. As soon as the lie is a little wet, a little grainy, anything challenging, you're in big trouble doing that. So, what are the two things I want people to focus on if you fix nothing else in your chipping? We want to make sure our center of mass stays in front of the golf ball. So, think about it where your Iron Man is. So make sure that center of mass starts with the low point somewhat in front. So that means you don't have a lot of tilt away from it. And your chest is going to be slightly open relative to the golf ball. So if you watch, that's going to move my bottom forward. Now, in the actual motion, I don't mind if people feel like their head rocks a little forward in the backswing and then kind of stays there, or if it stays relatively neutral but then goes forward in it. Number one's probably my preference. I think it's the easiest on these little short ones to feel like your whole center of mass is a tower just getting rocked forward as you turn. So it's not a lean over. Your whole center of mass is rocking forward as you turn. That's probably the most important one. Now the second one is, I'm going to have you set up a little rough demonstration line here on the plane line. So come back here, Milo, and give me like as if you were setting up a plane. So if my club comes underneath this plane, which is what a lot of people do now from here, if I just start turning, see where my club hit? Way back here behind my foot. So for me to make good contact, I'd have to throw my hands or do something goofy to make contact, versus throw that plane line back up for me. If I can just manage that thing either on or just above the plane, now if I just unwind my body, my club's going to bottom out essentially right in the center of my feet, just in front of it. We have to manage that. I see very few good chippers, unless they're intentionally hitting a hook chip or something like that, where their club gets under the plane. And what's funny is, everybody thinks underneath it's going to come out higher. But in reality, you're going to hit a lot lower because you're going to start to throw that club head and start imparting a lot of hook spin on it.
I actually did an experiment for our membership the other day, and I hit some little draw chip shots, but it's
set up square,
yeah. A little draw, those come out low. And then I hit some where I was a little more outside and across, those come out high.
High and soft.
Yeah.
Because what happens is you retain the loft on your club, your arms are going to stay nice and long, club's going to come out with a high launch angle. If that club gets underneath us, we're going to start to throw this thing, create a lot of hook spin. It's going to come out real low and hard, which most people I see need to get better at chipping it high and get the ball to stop rather than low and hard. So if you can just manage where your center of mass is, making sure it's always in front of that golf ball, so our low point's forward, and making sure that this plane, we keep the club head above. So in just a simple way to think about it is feel like your club head stays outside your hands the entire motion. If people did those two things, I bet they'd be a lot better at chipping.
Okay, show us a couple.
All right, so I'm going to show you what I want the center of mass to look like. So I'm slightly open here. You're going to see my head just rock forward slightly, and it'll just kind of stay there as I unwind. It will never have hardly any of that. Now, from down the line, I'm not chipping at a hole here, but that's okay. So we got the center of mass moving forward. You'll see that this club head is going to stay always outside my hands. That's going to make life a lot easier to bottom out in front of the golf ball. If I get this and I don't fix it with my hands, that's where my club's going to bottom. Let's make sure we manage those two things, make contact easier.
Awesome. Hopefully you all liked this video, learned something. If you did, like and subscribe, and come visit us at milolinesgolf.com, where we can help you learn how to swing like an athlete and hit these short game shots like a professional.